Past paper analysis. What has come up in recent times, and indeed how we are expected to pass, and what has happened in recent exams. What are we expecting, I should say. So past paper analysis, syllabus areas, conceptual framework, regulatory framework, preparation of financial statements, business combinations, groups of companies, analyzing and interpreting. The discussion marks, as I was saying, is 33. The average computation marks, of course, 67%. So first of all, conceptual framework has appeared on all of the first 6 exams. So there you are, a few average discussion marks, average computations marks, etc. The next area, regulatory framework, has appeared on just one of the first 6 exams in June 2010. Just a few marks about non-profit making enterprises, charities, schools owned by the government, hospitals, that kind of thing. What are their priorities in terms of service rather than profit making? So it's quite an interesting question. To the examiner's great credit, he put that into the pilot paper, warning us about the future in terms of real exams. And even though I've been preparing students for it 5 times, it's on the 6th sitting, which I still prepare them for, it eventually came up. So it is important to realize that things like regulatory framework, even though they're not that interesting in one sense, they're important. And every now and then you'll get a question on it. So we had our first question on that quite recently. What else do we have in our famous syllabus? Preparation of financial statements based on accounting standards, of course. Don't forget that. That's the big one. It must be based on accounting standards. Has appeared on all of the 6 exams so far. The average discussion mark 15, average computations, of course, 40. So quite a big chunk of the recent exams. What else? Business combinations, which is basically group accounts, parent, subsidiary, associate. Use my techniques. I have certain ways of saving time. You have to work out the controlling interest goodwill, the non-controlling interest goodwill, etc. Controlling interest is where you have more than 50%. Non-controlling is where you have the remainder. So if you have 80% of my company, you are the controlling interest. And so the non-controlling interest, also sometimes called minority interest, the non-controlling interest, using the new word, the new terminology, if you have 80, the other people have 20, adds up to 100. So I'll show you my personal techniques, which I've honed, I've developed over the last 20, 25 years of teaching. So I want to share all of that with you. So business combinations, no problem whatsoever. Analyzing and interpreting, as I say, has appeared in 4 out of the first 6 exams. If it comes up as a full question, it'll be 25 marks. Though, as I say, occasionally it's mixed with cash flows. So those numbers I've given you is, if it's a full question, 17 marks will be on discussion and 8 marks will be on the actual ratios, the calculations. So do be careful. You must do the written work. The examiner and his team of markers say to us at meetings, especially the examiner fronting his team of markers at these international conferences I attend, he says he feels so sad that when he gives people a chance to do ratios, comparing one company to the other, they do every possible ratio they can find, whether they've covered that in F7 or F5 or indeed any degree before they do ACCA or AAT or CAT. They do all the ratios they possibly can, 25 ratios, and the examiner says, such a pity, because I've got to limit you to 1/3 of the marks, 8 marks. So at a maximum, the ratios are 8 marks, and the discussion is 17 marks. So I would suggest do 8 or 9 ratios, in case he doesn't like one of them. So you get your 8 out of 8, but spend most of your time, 2/3 of your time, doing the writing. Do the return on capital employed. or the net profitability, things like that. Did it go up this year? What could be the reason for it? Not just that it went up, but is there some reason I can suggest? That kind of thing is a fascinating topic, one of my favorites. I like the whole syllabus, tell you the truth. But even as a student, I always liked ratio analysis because you could explain to the examiner that you do understand accountancy. And I hope to share with you all my little techniques in that area in due course. So there you are. That's the syllabus itself.